Hello everyone and welcome back to a car profile where we're looking at the Hyundai Genesis Group 3 car. This car is front-engined, rear-wheel drive, a really long wheelbase in fact, or at least that's what it says in game. Interestingly, it doesn't specify the size of the engine in terms of displacement, but I suspect it's a 3.8 litre because that's what the car's based on. However, it does sound like a GTR with that engine noise, so who knows with that one. It has 6 gears, not a real car in terms of GT3 car, but it's a good representation of the Vision Gran Turismo concept. We've got the bops there for you, so with low, medium and high, they're all the same at the moment. So 529 brake horsepower when bops on with the 1,312 kilograms of weight. Deliveries, of course, are on the car in the game. We've got one that's very, very much like the real world livery. And the one I've got in the background just uses the colours from that livery. It had Hyundai on, so I kept it on there. If you do like these car profiles, do give it a like. Subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest car profiles. Let's jump into the test then, where we see what these cars are like at given circuits and how they respond, essentially. So we jump to the low-speed bot test here. Low speed because Laguna Seca is classified as a low-speed track. So we jump into this. We're going to do a low, medium, and high speed if you're new to these car profiles. And we're racing against the Porsche 911 RSR down in that bottom right side. That's the fastest car we have raced here at the moment. Heading towards Sector 1 then. We are just under a tenth down then on the Porsche 911. Not too bad, to be honest with you, as we continue on now. Let's talk about some of the features of this car then. So it does have a bit of an issue with power oversteer at the top end of gears, especially second and third gear. It does like to rotate. But then when you get into fourth gear like here, when you go into some of these corners, you will struggle to get turning. It will just understeer for days. It's really, really weird, if I'm honest with you. So we head towards the corkscrew then. We go onto the brakes in this car. The brakes are, bang average, really. There's nothing great about them, but there's nothing bad about them either. We're down here again, just having to worry about the third gear oversteer. And as we go through here, nearly 4 tenths down now. So you can see we're struggling a little bit then as we continue on through. And it really is just that understeer as we go into the final couple of corners. Going to head towards the last corner then, and it's going to be hard on the brakes again. Braking a bit later than normal, actually, maybe a bit better than average there. So we continue on through here. Hit a little bit hitting the revs, but you do have to rev the nuts out of this car to get the maximum power, and you'll see why later on. Let's have a look at the time though here. We're half a second down on that Porsche 911. But remember, with these tests, we look at the optimum time, not necessarily the fastest lap, because it's very much better to get 10 optimum times from 10 laps than to have 1 lap and see where it fits. So we combine the optimum time there, and it comes home in the same time. In fact, the fastest lap was the optimum lap there, so I did the best I could with the car. Comes home in P10, so it's quite a way off the Mercedes AMG, which is actually top in terms of optimums. But even so, it's still ahead of some other cars, which are down here, as you can see right there. 17 cars have been tested now. People do ask me what happens when they do a bot change. I'll redo some of these tests, but just summarize it in one video rather than having a whole new car profile video, because as you can imagine, these do take some time to make. We can head towards the medium speed bot test then, which is done at Suzuka as we head in towards turn 1 here at Suzuka. Now this one always shows if a car oversteers under braking or anything like that, but I found it could be quite aggressive as we continue on through and into the first sector. So I talked about the understeer when you get towards the higher speeds, and I did start to struggle with that here. You notice I'm braking, dabbing the brakes a lot here. I'm trying to get the car rotated. It does not want to turn. It really doesn't want to turn as I go through this right-hander then. And we are 1.5 tenths down then on the Toyota Supra, which is the car we're racing here. And we run out really wide there as well. Got to be careful when doing that. So we're going to head towards Tidgney 1 and 2. This sort of tests if the front's going to get all unsettled through there. A little bit of unsettling, nothing major. Oh, look, it's a can't hit a Tidgney 2 though. That's going to cost us a little bit of time, which is why we run Optimums. But let's see what this is. So it costs us 2 tenths there, arguably, as we head towards the hairpin then to slow it down. Now, it really was a bit iffy in the hairpin, if I'm brutally honest, as I come through here. It just felt slow and sluggish and didn't really want to get away anywhere there. But as we saw in the Beat the Meta, it's very good at initial acceleration, this car. It really is good at picking up speed. It just struggles when you get to speed, it appears. So we head towards Spoon then. Again, high speed corner. Always going to struggle here as I go through this corner. You can see it's wanted to understeer. You can see I'm trying to get the throttle. I just can't do it in this car because of that understeer as I continue on out of there. It very much feels like the Aston Martin DBR9 that we tried, actually, where it's just understeers and it doesn't really feel like it wants to turn or go anywhere. But we're going to head towards the next sector then. We're 8 tenths down. 8 tenths down there. Went through 130R to 143, I think it was, so it does turn slightly better than that Aston Martin a while ago as we head into the final chicane here at Suzuka. So through the left we go. Going to accelerate out here. Got to be careful. Again, you can see that twitch with that power oversteer. Second, third gear. Very hard gears in this car. As we head towards the line then, And for a first, it's an identical lap time to lap number 9. If you look on that right-hand side, so we've got 0.990, 970, 970. So very consistent there, at least in this car. Right, let's jump to some Optimums then. Let's have a look where it fits in the Optimum leaderboard. And it's not even on the first page. Yeah, it's not looking good for this car, if I'm honest. I did come here after experiencing Laguna Seca. I was like, I think it's going to struggle. And, well, it has, hasn't it? It's not even in the top 10 there. As we jump to the next page, it's down in 14th. Down in 14th. Nearly a second off the top times, really, there. So it is struggling a lot. Very much handles very similar to the GT500, actually. And as I mentioned earlier, the Aston Martin DBR9, but it's got a bit better turning than that car. So that's Suzuka all done with. We're going to jump to the high-speed track, which is, of course, Bathurst. And I expected it to do well here. I really did. And weirdly, and I've already talked about it, it's actually not as fast as you realise. It's got very good acceleration. Talked about that already, and we've seen that in Beat the Meta. Make sure you check out the Beat the Meta for this car at the end of the video. But we're racing the BMW M6 GT3, and you're probably like, Tidge, that isn't a fast car, that's a handling car. Well, yes, it just did very well at the mountain, and it has the fastest lap here at the moment. We're currently 1.5 tenths down on said car as we go into the right-hander. That's not quite right. That is a tenth. Sorry. Apologies. I misread that completely as we go up here then and in towards the left-hander. Looking to slow it down. I did struggle with a bit of understeer into here. If I went a tiny bit aggressive, had to be careful. And on exit, oh my word, it did not like the exit of that corner at all as we head up the mountain. So for some cars, I don't have to lift here. For this one, yeah, I very much have to lift here as I'm now going through the mountain. Oh, slight tap of the barrier there, but this is my fastest lap as we get over towards this crest. Didn't mind this too much, to be honest with you. It was fairly okay. Bit slower than most cars, though, as we head down the mountain now. What are we there? We are 6 tenths down then on the BMW M6. Going into here, though, it very much could handle this very nicely indeed there. No drama at all, which is nice to see. As we head down towards Forest Elbow, then looking to slow this car down. And again, Forest Elbow was very nice here. Struggled a bit on exit sometimes, as you see there. Still very twitchy, trying to get on the throttle as quick as I possibly can to get the best lap time out of this car. Now, if you do have questions in terms of car profiles, I do put them in the description, frequently asked questions. But even so, if it's not been answered, I will answer it and then put it in the description for you. So going through here then, we do a top speed marker now here, and it was 167 there, which I think is one of the slowest, but we'll see later on the leaderboard as we come through there. And that's why we're going to head towards last corner. That's why I was talking about speed earlier, because I was actually quite surprised that it wasn't in the 70s. We're looking for 170s, about an average really, and it's definitely underneath that. So we're going to continue on round towards the line then, looking to beat a 201.8 here. We're in the 202s, a 202.3 then, so half a second down on that BMW M6 GT3 model, as that is the end of the Bathurst run then. Let's have a look at the Optimum time though. As I said earlier on, where does it sit on the leaderboard? P7, so about average, maybe a bit above average there. And I will tell you now, it's because of the downhill section. It has one of the fastest sectors downhill. It's very good. It's very stable. Very much works well on that downhill section. And that's where a lot of cars are tested in terms of their handling and stability, which is where the Audi R8, for example, which sits P17, just struggled. Couldn't do the downhill section at all in that car. Very much all over the place. So it's something to keep in mind when we do these tests as well. So we've done all the tests in terms of circuits. It's now time to test the fuel usage. And I'm actually going to talk about here the fuel usage in the fact that I'm going to change this test again and retest some of these cars, because I actually want to make it so that the maximum RPM is tested on automatic gears, and we're also going to do a fuel map run on automatic gears as well. So we do maximum RPM, which is when the bar flashes. Quarter shift top right, because the best way to save fuel is obviously to short shift. And at the bottom, we've got a quarter shift plus a fuel map. So that's what we've got there for you as we head towards the 2,000 meter line, which is where we stop it here. So top left, we've got 25.3 there, 58% fuel use. And then obviously we'll compare that against the other cars. But what we need to do is continue on to see where the next time is going to finish. And it looks like it's going to be that quarter shift. And we can see it's just saved quite a bit of fuel there with the quarter shift. 68%, so that's 10% fuel saved. However, it's down to a 25.9, so that's a 6/10 of a second loss in terms of performance getting there. As you can see, it's 3 miles an hour down there actually as well. And then we've obviously got the bottom here. The bottom then gets the end 154 miles an hour at that line. And again, we've saved even more fuel there, 74% on that fuel map 3. Remember, fuel map is the worst way to save fuel. I understand automatic drivers can only use fuel maps, should I say, whereas obviously if you can short shift is the better way to do it. We just showed the extreme version at the very end there. Right, let's jump to these leaderboards then. So with the maximum RPM, it's not in the top half of that leaderboard then. So not in the top 10 at all. There you can see some of the performance there. The Ford GTL and race car really taking it to everybody else there with a 24.667. Where does the Hyundai Genesis sit then? It's 25.300, the exact same as the Audi R8 LMS Evo. Similar on fuel as well. Obviously, you've got to take into consideration human error there. So 1% different. I'd say that's exactly the same, to be honest with you. We go to a quarter shift then, and again, it's not in that top 10. Remember, one of the previous ones, the Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo, that moved up the boards. It showed that it could handle the fuel saving very nicely indeed because the performance increased. The Hyundai Genesis, so no, it can't. It's at the bottom, folks. It's at the bottom. You cut that engine power, it struggles. It struggles to gain any performance at all. So you definitely do not want to short shift this car in any form at all because it will go slower. It really, really will. And I did notice that when I was doing Beat the Meta actually in terms of time trials, the second you short shift, it just struggles. So you do have to rev the nuts out of it. Anyway, the fuel map 3 area, we're waiting to go to the second part of the leaderboard there. A 10th down on the next car up. Yeah, this car can't save fuel, folks. And believe it or not, back in the World Tours in Monaco 2019, it was in a fuel saving race and it was at the back. This car can't save fuel. Do not use this car in any fuel saving race whatsoever. Right, we tested the fuel. It's time for the tyres now. So we do 2 tyre wear tests for you at this moment in time. Of course, this is developed as we've done these car profiles. This first test is, of course, without human intervention, or technically, I've just got my foot to the floor, and that is that. And we're going to follow this line around the oval. And all this does is test the tyre wear usage versus the weight. You can also see top speed in here and a bit of fuel usage in there as well. It binds a lot of things into one, really, which is kind of nice. So I'm just fast forwarding this now. And then what we're going to do is when we get towards finally using the first tyre, which is obviously going to be that rear right tyre, we're going to take all the lap times combined, including the one we're currently on, and that gives us a total time for how long that tyre lasts in terms of this car. As you can see here, we're getting very low now, so we just slowed it down a little bit there. We've got the 50-second lap on lap 1. We have the 53.759 on lap 2. And finally, as we get towards the end of that tyre here, we've got 25.914 are the end of lap 3, and that is the end of the session there in terms of that tyre run. So we can add them all up together. It gives us a total time. We also do a second tyre test for those that are new to the car profile, and this is at Sardinia Layout C in reverse. Very good place to test tyres, actually. It really does test the car, and tyre wear is on in terms of how much usage you do get. We go to lap 5 because we're getting low on lap 5. I'm not going to show you all 5 laps because it's just going round and round and round. And we're heading up here now, the front left tyre going, which is obviously the most common tyre to go on this circuit. As we head in towards this right-hander then, is that tyre going to hold on a bit more? There we go, it's just ended there. So similar to the oval, we had all those laps together, so the 49, the 52s, and this 28-second lap here. We add them all together and we get a total time again. This is obviously with human intervention, so you got to think about braking, accelerating, minor steering movements, etc. They all have an impact on tyre wear, so human error does come into account to some extent. However, here we go with the tyre test on the oval circuit. So it was actually up there, P3, probably his best performance out of all the tests so far. So without human intervention, the tyres do last quite a while. However, with human intervention, where does it sit? I've not done all the tests for these cars yet. In fact, we're on the second part of the leaderboard. Apologies, I forgot I've done 17 car profiles here. So yes, it's very much up there in terms of that. But where does it sit in the circuits? We've not done all the tests yet. Let's have a look at this one. Sitting P3 there as well, just ahead of that Nissan GT-R GT500, which makes sense. Both those cars struggle with understeer, and then that impacts, obviously, the amount of tyre wear, because you're turning in more, you're trying to accelerate through the corners more, it causes more oversteer and wheel spin. And yeah, it just is what it is with this car. It does start to wear its tyres more because you're trying to fight the car in terms of its understeer. Not in the top 10 in terms of top speed, which is very interesting indeed, I must say that, because it's actually bottom, or joint bottom, should I say there. And the Aston Martin, I would argue, above it is a handling car, where this isn't a handling car. It's just a bit meh, as I've said. And as you've seen with some of those lap times, very interesting that it's slowed down in terms of top speed. In summary then, it does not. Summary is all the lap times combined there in terms of Optimum. It does not make the top 10 there. So in terms of meta cars here, Mercedes AMG upwards, they are the meta cars. Everybody else is the midfield, and this is slap bang in the middle essentially there with that 523.581. And yeah, it's ahead of some cars, not ahead of a lot of cars. And as I've said throughout this video, it's a bit meh, this car. I mean, you can drive it. It's not going to be the great. It's the worst at fuel saving out of everything we've done so far. So yeah, choose wisely if you want to choose that car. Now, if you did enjoy this video, do give it a like, subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest content. And if there's a car you've not seen on those tests and you want to see the car profile, let me know in the comments. There's a previous car profile for you to check out there. There's also a playlist in the description. Otherwise, if you want to see how I got to test this car, check out that Beat the Meta video. It's a killer, and you're about to see somebody break in that video. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video or live stream again very soon.